Folks, Speaker of the House of Representatives Nancy Pelosi and House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer slandering as un-American those American citizens trying to make their voices heard at town hall meetings and constituent meetings all across the country. You heard me right. They said they were being un-American. Congressman Hoyer and Congresswoman Pelosi said, all these citizens are trying to do is make their voices heard, yet these two clowns who are passing for leaders in this Congress were absolutely silent when the White House asked people to come forward and rat out their peers for spreading what the White House considered fishy disinformation about the president's health care plan. So here's the deal. As far as the Democratic leadership in Washington, D.C. is concerned, if you speak out and voice your concerns and seek representation on issues of great importance to you and to this nation, you are, and this is their expression, you are un-American. If you rat out a somebody based on what you think is fishy information about health care, you are doing your patriotic duty. Does this sound familiar from any part of world history? Does this sound familiar to anybody? Do you see an issue here? Make your voice heard. 877-55-DOBBS, 877-55-DOBBS. We want to hear from you. We want you to make your voice heard. Or go to LouDobbsRadio.com. Contact me directly at LouDobbsRadio.com. So, folks, there we are. We're un-American. We are un-American according to the Speaker of the House of Representatives and the Majority Leader in the House. In an op-ed in USA Today called calling un-American attacks that can't derail health care debate. I mean, they're crazy. They're absolutely nuts. I got to tell you, folks, I try to maintain as much of a certain sense of humor about the madness that is partisan politics in Washington, D.C. I have not been pleased with Republicans or Democrats, Republican presidents or Democratic presidents for a very long time. But what we are witnessing in the House of Representatives is nauseating. Pelosi and Hoyer arguing that the dialogue between elected representatives and constituents is at the heart of our democracy, plays an integral role in assuring the legislation we write reflects the genuine needs and concerns of the people we represent. My God, that's the first time I ever heard either one of them acknowledge a responsibility to represent the American people. Then, guess what? After they say the people we represent, however, you knew there had to be a but or a however after that one. However, it is now evident that an ugly campaign is underway, not merely to misrepresent the health insurance reform legislation. By the way, that's right. I referred to that as the health insurance reform legislation because that's what Pelosi and Reid and Hoyer and the president now refer to it as. Remember when it was health care reform? Oh, no. Now it's just the insurance reform. They go on to say, but to disrupt public meetings and prevent members of Congress and constituents from conducting a civil dialogue. In other words, if your view is opposite that of your elected representative, you are no longer a constituent in the view of these two members of the Democratic Congressional Leadership Brain Trust. Where in the world is the national media? How can they even get away with this kind of nonsense? Good Lord Almighty. I have to tell you, there's been almost no dialogue between congressional representatives and their constituents until just the last 2 weeks. And that, a begrudging dialogue for a congressman. And by the way, the fact that a few constituents actually raised their voices, demanded to be heard, and insist on reason prevailing, and some, by the way, obligation on the part of the congressman to represent their constituents, then these two, oh man, I just can't tell you what I think of Hoyer and Pelosi. There's a special place in political hell reserved for people who will not, who just simply can't walk a straight line or talk straight. And these two are about as crooked in both as anyone could be. How in the world do they expect to be taken seriously? Do you have any doubt about why Nancy Pelosi and her polling, only 24% of Americans trust her? My God. That 24% must, I mean, you talk about, they've got to be Kool-Aid drinking, just, I don't know, acid swilling left-wing loonies to even, I can't even imagine it. Nothing has, nothing in this legislation makes any sense at all, except the fact that it's a great joke that they've trying to perpetrate on the American people. 4 pieces of legislation in the House of Representatives. We've got polls. Every news organization in the country has got a poll about who approves it, who doesn't approve it. Will it do this? Will it do that? Folks, nobody knows. This thing is so ambiguous, so vaporous, so vapid, no one could understand what the societal impact will be. Would there be any improvement in the healthcare system in any form or quarter? What will be the long-term impact on American society? This president and this Democratic leadership don't have the guts to deal with that issue. And guess what? The Republicans aren't doing a lot better, folks. The Republicans are sitting here talking about, a healthcare system that obviously does need some improvement. But you would not think, according to the Republicans, that there's anything wrong, that there's no problem with the fact that Medicare rises 35% faster than all of the other private healthcare plans combined. No, we haven't got a problem in this country. We've only got $60 trillion in unfunded liabilities. Good Lord Almighty. When are people going to have the sense, the courage to talk straight? I mean, whether you're Republican or Democrat, conservative or liberal, just for a moment, think about the reality here. And the reality is we have a government that is out of control. $181 billion deficit just last month. We're at $1.3 trillion just in budget deficit. Can you remember when that was, the federal budget? I mean, and we've got people walking around like the issue is whether we should reform health care. You blithering idiots. You're blithering idiots. I'm sitting here watching the Three Amigos in Guadalajara. Oh, man, that's a beautiful thing to watch. President Obama, President Calderon, Prime Minister Harper, they spend, I think it's going to work out to about 15 hours together, something like that. And this is a big summit. And they're saying, well, they don't have anything to say much about, really, to say about trade, since we have a trade deficit with both countries that keeps them both, put it this way, living in tall grass while we're in the short grass. And I'm not talking in a golf analogy here. I just don't know what to say to you. This is a country and a government that is out of control. This man is running, when I say this man, I'm talking about Barack H. Obama, President of the United States. He's starting to look more like George W. Bush every day. He's got signing statements. Did you read the piece in the New York Times today, folks? Syndicated all over the country. That's right. Barack H. Obama. The new boss is the old boss, and let me tell you what, they're both stinkers. I mean, they are stinkers. How can you possibly be Barack H. Obama criticizing George W. Bush for these signing statements throughout the campaign? They come in and you're doing the same darn thing. What is this? And the national news media, my hat's off to the New York Times. It's one of the few times that left-wing rag has done anything, it's just incredible. They're so sold out to the Democratic Party in this administration. I have to tell you right now, ladies and gentlemen, I am in shock that they have written anything that could be construed vaguely as criticism of the administration of Barack Obama. It's wild. And the national media, I'm sure they're just going to cluck along and you're going to just see everything is fine. And the reason is the Fourth Estate, ladies and gentlemen, is held captive by the left wing of the Democratic Party. This is no longer just the liberal national media. I'm telling you, the left wing in this country is driving news coverage. It is driving the media. And there is no countervailing influence to this administration. And you're saying, well, what about Congress? Democratic. I didn't say they were smart, but they're Democratic. What about the Fourth Estate? No, that's a Democratic Fourth Estate. Well, what about the Republican Party? Let me ask you something, and I don't care whether you're Republican or not. Do you really consider that a party? I mean, which of those Republicans do you consider luminaries and guiding lights for the body politic? You know what? I'd love to hear from you. Let's have that one, too. Let's open that question up, too. As a matter of fact, I would like to know the names of the luminaries, the guiding lights of the Republican Party you think could mount any kind of offensive against this juggernaut that is the Obama administration and the Democratic leadership. They've got tremendous political power. They seem to have so little intellectual integrity. I don't know whether it'll dissipate in the course of the next 60 to 90 days, but we're going to find out because things are getting a little hot. We're delighted you're with us. We're going to be talking with you. Make your voice heard, 877-55-DOBS. We're going to the phones right after this.
LouDobbsRadio.com, your online source for independent thinking.